Okay, that's fine. You could say that, but you can't expect that or demand that. Allah, you should be better. Are they angels? Are they perfect? No, of course, it doesn't work that way. It's a private company, but you can't demand it.
Israel, social media, when it comes to Israel, how do you deal with actually getting the message out so people know and want to help? Because there's people that want to help versus saying that we don't want to hang any dirty laundry and we're trying to promote unity and achdus.
I don't use social. That's not what I use social media for. I use social media for defending Israel and countering the lies and propaganda that's being told in the blood libels that are being told about Israel. I'm not saying, listen, it's also a question of how you frame it, right? Like when I was raising some money for Tzvi's unit, I didn't frame it like, oh my God, the army's dysfunctional. They have nothing. Help him. He's going to die. I framed it like, he's got, his gear, but let's get him some better tactical gear. And, it could really save lives. Like it's not, it's a question of perspective. Is it like they need it and like they're going to, be screwed if they don't get it? Or is it like extra credit? Like you can help support them and give them better equipment. The first one to me is detrimental. I think it's just a bad message. The second one is a message that facilitates and helps people kind of feel like they're part of it and, donate money, et cetera, et cetera. That's fine. The first one I have a little bit of a problem with. It's all.
Yeah. So we'll in a friendly manner disagree. I think that some of it is kind of the extra credit stuff. I think if someone's saying we desperately need a barbecue or we desperately need a slightly warmer coat versus having a standard army issue coat, I would agree. But if someone doesn't have or wasn't issued a helmet or vests or adequate night vision or something like that, to me, it's a problem. But I do agree with you that in an ideal case, we wouldn't necessarily talk about that.
Listen, if that's the case, that a person's missing some basic equipment, then there are ways to go about it without, making Israel look dysfunctional. You could reach, back channels. You could reach out to people privately. It doesn't have to be, announcing to the world that we're missing basic equipment. I just think that that's detrimental.
Now, I want to go to, obviously, your focus on tech. There's a thing going on with Elon Musk, people trying to accuse him of making some sort of Nazi salute. Is Elon Musk an anti-Semite?
Oh, it's so ridiculous. Like, for real. Before October 7th, he held a space on X with like a lot of Jewish leaders. Natan Sharansky was there, and several ministers were there, and just Jewish leaders from around the world, rabbis and Jewish leaders, whatever it is. And they talked about anti-Semitism, and he could not have been any clearer. The guy does not have an anti-Semitic bone in his body. He went to Auschwitz. Like it's a ridiculous made-up lie that the left likes to make up about him because they don't know what to do with him. And again, like the guy's super duper awkward. The guy's a stoner. Like he's not, I have a lot to say about him, but he's not a Nazi and he's not an anti-Semite. And anybody who watches that clip in context, like, yeah, because these guys, how the media works, they cut out a small part and then it looks like a Nazi salute. But if you take it in context, he literally says, as he's doing that salute, my heart, and he holds his heart, puts his hand on his heart, he says, my hearts go out to you.
And he's awkward. He was kind of bumbling around stage the entire time. It wasn't as if that was the only time that he kind of looked strange. He looked strange the entire time. Okay, I want to go to something else here. Elal, you are very proud of the ad, and here's a take I think represents some of the people from the diaspora who have been trying to help. Elal is a private company that, thank God, is making money and doing a good job making money. It's been kind of frustrating trying to get equipment to soldiers because we were paying $50 a bag, then they're trying to up it to more, and the people have accused it of price gouging. And I know there was some agreement that was reached with Nir Barkat in which, some of the prices of the flights are held and are stabilized. But there's a frustration that they're making money on the war, and that's fine because they're a for-profit company. But don't tell me that this is Israel and this is somehow representing Zionism in a touchy-feely way, which is what the ad did a good job of doing. And that was my frustration when I read the ad. I was very, very livid. But what was your thought process on the ad, and where do you see Elal as representing for Jews and for Israel?
So, disclaimer: I've worked with Elal many times over the years on many different projects. And I also, used to have major problems with them in terms of just their service, and it was just subpar. It was, inferior to most other airlines. And they're by no means perfect. And I'm, there are many complaints. I have complaints. That's fine. But to expect a private company who has limited supply, aka limited jets, an endless demand, and every other airline shut it down. And they're the only airline that stays supportive of Israel because they're an Israeli company, and they continue to fly despite all the challenges. And they don't have more jets; they just have a limited supply of jets and endless demand. What are they going to do? That's just the way the capitalism works. Like there's supply and demand. If there's endless demand and limited supply, price goes up. So they could take one for the team and like say, okay, we're going to lose money. Like that's just not how.
Well, it wouldn't say that they're losing money. It would say that they're holding a price to not make as exorbitant a profit.
You could say that they should be, as we call, lifnei mishur hasadin. They should go above and beyond. Okay, that's fine. You could say that, but you can't expect that or demand that. They're a private company. Like you can't. Again, would it be a nice thing? Of course, it would be a nice thing. Would it be fantastic if every single person had a complaint about El Al, the CEO, would pick up the phone and call him and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Yeah, okay, it would, and I could say 50,000 other things that every private company could and should do to make its customers happy. But we know the reality. The reality is that there are very few, private companies out there who take customer service and other things, with the seriousness that I think it deserves. But, again, one can say, El Al, you should be better. I get that. But to be angry at El Al for running an ad, to give, reserve duty soldiers 3 points to fly around the world, which they didn't have to do. To me, it's just like, it's very, I'm sorry for saying it like this, but like, it's very Jewish. Like, dude, they're doing something nice. Like, why do we have to find the negative in it? Okay, are they angels? Are they perfect? No, of course not. They're, they make mistakes. They're a private company and they could do more. But to take an ad like that, and okay, you want to say it's a marketing, call it whatever you want. The fact of the matter is, thousands and thousands of reserve soldiers got endless points to fly around the world and a benefit that they didn't have to give them. So like, let's just say thank you. Like, why do we have to be so Jewish and be like, oh, but you did this wrong, and oh my God, you could be better here. Enough. Like it reminds me of that joke. Like a mother-in-law buys her son-in-law 2 ties. And she comes over for dinner and he puts on the tie and he's so proud. And she walks in the door and she's like, "What? You didn't like the other tie?" It's like we always find things to complain about. Like it's a nice thing. That's it. It's a nice thing.
All right, I'll give you an authentic, I think, real response to that without being just a whiner. My point is, there are soldiers that the cost was prohibitively high for their family to visit them while they're in combat, and if they'd been given a better, a price that's reasonable for people to be able to go and visit Israel, they would have been able to do so. And same thing with donations for equipment that was helping keep soldiers alive. If you're trying to be nice, there's ways to be nice. And I'm not saying that it's not a nice thing to give points to soldiers. I'm saying that on one hand, they're a capitalist private company. So go be a private company, but don't try to claim to be a company of like chesed and loving kindness. Like,
what are you talking about? It's a marketing campaign. I understand. You go to a restaurant or go to any business and say, you guys should really there are homeless people in the world. There's poverty. Why don't you go give free food to, what do you mean? I'm a cat. Like what? Like where do you draw the line? I mean, they're a private company, and it happens to be that they are an Israeli company and a Zionist company who, for example, when those hostages were freed, they announced, from the center to all El Al planes. It's a beautiful thing. When I land on El Al, I get all choked up and emotional because at the end of the day, this is my, my country, my airline, and they say, welcome to our beautiful country. They are an Israeli company. So it is, I do hear what you're saying, that there's a balance that needs to be struck here between, the quote unquote Zionist company and a private, capitalistic company. So they have to balance those things. But to expect a private company to lower prices so that soldiers' families can come visit them would be really, really nice. I don't disagree with you. Of course, that would be really nice. But you also can't say to a company, you have to do that. Just like you can't say to McDonald's, go give out food to homeless people. Like that's their business.
I'll say this. I got to know a lot of the employees going back and forth to Israel as many times as we did for try to help soldiers. And there were a few times where actually the flight attendants, we were talking, their kids are actually in war. And when they got to the hotel, we had equipment and we would then run down and meet them. So it's a very nice way to develop a relationship and get to meet some of, the family aspect of it. And yeah, it's amazing to see that part. And again, I'm not railing. I'm trying to get your opinion. To see the unity that happened, certainly after October 7th, and these crazy stories of people sitting in the cockpit, and it really is incredible. I'll tell you, when I was on the flight home, I texted one of the pilots who's also a reservist. And I said, "Oh, you don't happen to be on this flight?" I didn't know what his deal was. And about midway through the flight, someone came over to me and said, "Oh, we heard that you know our colleague, so come and say hi to the team. Let's talk." And I was being able to schmooze with the pilots, and it was fun, and I appreciate that aspect of it. And again, it was just I'm more curious on your take on that, and like you said, social media doesn't always have nuance, so it's hard to have a nuanced discussion about legitimate feedback on a Facebook chat.
To be clear, I just want to be very clear. Like the CEO, the new owner is a big mensch, and don't think for a second that he's rejoicing and counting the money and going to I don't know what. Like he understands the pain of his people. I know this for sure. Okay, like he can, but he can only do as much as he can do. It's not like he could decide tomorrow. Okay, fine. I'm just exaggerating for a reason. I'm giving out 3,000 free flights to reservist families. Okay, like maybe if it was his own money and it's a company and there's a board, there's a committees, and these are decisions that need to be taken by a company, and no company in their right mind would, as hard as it is for them, and I'm sure it is hard for them, no company in their right mind, would come to their shareholders and say, "I'm sorry, we made less money this quarter, and I know that you're invested in my company. I'm sorry, but we needed to give free things because we care about our soldiers." Like it just doesn't work that way. It's a private company. They need to do what they need to do. They owe their shareholders money. That's it.
I appreciate your defense there, but I do think that there's when you look at whether that's the Dan's Deals chat boards or whatever it might be, and you're going to say there are people that make those kinds of arguments, and I think it's useful to actually hear an articulation.
I definitely hear it. I hear it all the time. I mean, on my posts about this LL campaign, I got tons of hate. I get it. I understand the frustration. It's legitimate. It's justified. But it's also very different when the context is, El Al, you're an Israeli company. We're in this existential war. Can you please help us more than you're helping us? And El Al sucks because they don't give out free tickets to reservist families. Like, it's a very big difference if you're like expecting and demanding it, or if you appreciate it and you would express that appreciation to a private company. Maybe you guys can do more and go above and beyond, but you can't demand it. And doesn't make them a bad company if they're not doing it.